other kids, just like how my teachers helped me to be where I'm at today. You know, being the first person to graduate in my family was very hard for me to kind of grasp everything that went to it. But my teachers were there from day one to help every single minute. And one of my teachers even drove me from school to the administration office to make sure that all my papers are in and, you know, everything is set so that I can start school the next Monday. So I felt like that was so poignant, how the teachers cared about the students, their success and things like that. So I just felt like, you know, hey, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do, you know, just help kids like myself who need help. Because if it wasn't them, I would not be sitting where I'm at right now.
The diversity. There are so many opportunities in Columbus that other small towns don't give you. We have a lot of resources here, but just the diversity of the families and the people that live here.
For the early childhood educator who's considering a career in Columbus City Schools, do it. We will come a rally around you, and you start somewhere, but that is not where you end up. We will grow with you, and you will be surprised at the amount of professional growth and personal growth that you will have working with our children in this district.
Of course, capturing the lizards is important, but studying their physiology and comparing it to other colonies is something researchers are hoping to zone in on.
So we've got our lab here at Ohio Wesleyan University. We've got a great group of students working in the lab, catching the animals in the field and collecting data in the field, and then maintaining the animals in the lab, taking care of them, and then conducting some experiments and measures on them here in captivity.
So we feed them mealworms and we give them water. We fill the water dish up with the water, and then we just spray the sides of the cages so they can drink the water off the sides, and also so it's like a humid type of environment, because reptiles, they need that humidity for their skin.
I would say the process actually starts as soon as we catch a lizard. So as soon as we catch a lizard, we initially take its body temperature, we collect a blood sample, and then give it a quick number.
What we're doing there is we're looking at the entire DNA sequence of individuals from Columbus and Cincinnati and also Italy, and we're comparing them to see if there's any evidence that the populations have experienced natural selection on certain traits, the population genetics at a broader level to understand if these populations are inbred, and how this colonization of this new habitat is affecting the genetic diversity within the population. Most of the time when organisms experience a genetic bottleneck, it's a really bad thing because they lose genetic diversity. They don't have any genetic diversity to respond to new environments. But in these lizards, apparently it didn't slow them down at all. And we're trying to understand why that might be or what that process was like.
As weather patterns changed, students began to lose their luck finding the lizards.
There's a level of habituation that I think could still be occurring with the tiles. There's been a dramatic change in the place they lived in a very small time frame. So although the bushes and the cover that they had previously, the cracks in the brick wall have been taken away, and now they have these new objects laying there that they could use, but is it safe? Is it something that they want to use just yet? Has it met their standards as a hiding place? And that's something that might take a little bit of time for them to use. And so I think we're still in that sort of realizing what the lizards are going to do and how they're going to behave process.
They don't really come out in the cold. They can't survive in the cold. So they mostly stay underground. That's why we have the tiles layered in a kind of way so that they have a way to go into them but still get heat and radiated throughout their bodies.
And we learned that the bigger tiles will hold heat better, they capture heat better, and we've been finding them only underneath the bigger black tiles that I put out there.
But as temperatures rose, lizards reappeared, this time appearing across the street.
At first I was like, we ain't catch no lizards, because most of the time, until the last time we went, we didn't catch none. But all the other classes was, so I was like, there's no luck, no chance of us catching lizards. But then we caught some. I was like, okay, we'll keep the hope alive, so I'm sure it's going to be more here in the summer.
We did catch 2 lizards, a male and a female. I caught one and then a student caught one. So that was exciting for us because we've been going out a couple days a week. There is a big worry that because the bushes were removed so early and they're so dependent on a very specific habitat, that once those bushes were gone, they have moved into the neighbors. In fact, we've seen them in the neighbors' block.
In the removal process of all those bushes, the hope at least is that only a few were displaced. And so they moved across and were in the bushes. I believe it's a multi-purpose building. That's a #1 priority on our list, is to keep these lizards contained to the school parking lot and remove them from there to the Ohio Wesleyan campus.
Unfortunately, today it was a little discouraging that we found some in the vegetation by the apartment building, because that means they're not just limited to this parking lot, they're on the next block over. That vegetation is pretty dense. I imagine the folks in that office or apartment building aren't going to be too thrilled with the proposition of removing that vegetation. So that could present a real challenge to trying to remove these guys. But we'll just keep at it and get as many as we can. I have one animal back in the lab that actually laid eggs last week. So a little bit early compared to the animals out in the wild, because they've been in the lab where it's been warmer and more consistent. Hasn't exactly been the nicest spring here in Ohio, which actually gives us
right? I was like, where'd she get this from?
Education business meeting. I invite you to check out these highlights and updates from across the district.
Greetings and welcome to this week's highlights from across the district. Hello, March. As Columbus City Schools gears up for a month of activities and celebrations, transitioning from Black History Month, where our district honored African Americans' rich heritage and invaluable contributions to our nation's history, we shift with pride into National Women's Month. This observance is a time to honor women's incredible achievements and contributions in shaping our world. From pioneers in various fields to everyday heroes making a difference, let's recognize and uplift the women who inspire us daily. March is also Why I Love My HBCU Month. HBCU grads, don't miss the chance to celebrate your contributions to our community. Show your HBCU pride by wearing themed attire every Friday. Let's honor the impact of HBCUs and celebrate the dynamic employees who make CCS shine. Lastly, March also brings Read Across America Month, a time to foster a love for reading and literacy across our district. Join us as we embark on this exciting journey of learning and celebration throughout March. February 26th to March 1st kicked off National Public School Week. This week-long celebration honors the vital role of public education in shaping our communities. At CCS, we love public schools. We extend heartfelt gratitude to our exceptional educators and dedicated professionals whose unwavering support enriches the lives of our students each and every day. Celebrating victory, on Saturday, February 24th, cheers erupted as the Special Olympics Comets basketball team from Lyndon McKinley STEM Academy clinched the state championship title. Congratulations to our remarkable student athletes and dedicated coaches on this incredible achievement. Your hard work, determination, and teamwork have led to this well-deserved victory. We are immensely proud of your accomplishment. Checkmate! We are proud to celebrate the achievements of Columbus City School students in the recent chess tournament held on February 27th at the downtown branch of the Columbus Metropolitan Library. This event, facilitated by our gifted and talented office, saw participation from 12 elementary schools, highlighting our young chess enthusiasts, strategic skills, and dedication. We applaud all the students, their coaches, and supporters for showcasing such excellence and sportsmanship in chess. Joshua Conroy and Neil Gordon, Columbus Alternative High School students, have earned prestigious National Merit Scholarships. Their remarkable achievements have placed them as finalists, making them eligible for consideration for the National Merit Scholarship Awards. Congratulations to Joshua, Neil, and to Kaz for fostering such exceptional scholars. We celebrate your outstanding accomplishments with immense pride and joy. Woodward Park Middle School's Career Technical Education program, led by CTE teacher Kevin Burrows, has achieved remarkable success. The Career Connections course, offered from February 29th to March 3rd, has opened students' eyes to a world of possibilities, from trades to academic pathways, while embedding crucial skills like communication, empathy, and critical thinking. The program has effectively linked classroom learning with real-world applications through engaging field trips and professional interactions. We sincerely thank all involved for their dedication and hard work. The positive impact of this program is set to inspire and shape our students' futures for years to come. We are the champions. Congratulations to the CCS City League winner champions. In a season filled with fierce competition and thrilling matchups, these exceptional athletes rose above the rest to claim victory. From the basketball courts to the bowling alleys, from the swimming pools to the wrestling mats, each outstanding team showcased their talent, determination, and teamwork. Behind every triumph stands a dedicated group of coaches who have nurtured and guided our student athletes to success. Their commitment and tireless efforts have undoubtedly played a significant role in shaping these remarkable athletes. We are CCS proud. These have been your highlights from around the district for March 5th. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening and welcome to March 5th, 2024, regular business meeting of the Columbus City Schools Board of Education. Please call the roll.
Ms. Adair? Present. Mr. Cole?
Here.
Ms. Ingalls?
Present.
Vice President Dr. Pierce?
Present.
Ms. Reyes?
Here.
Mr. Simmons?
Present.
President Vera?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good evening. All right, colleagues, today we do have 6 guests signed up for public comment. We have several items under board matters. In addition, we plan to hear an executive report and board monitoring report from our superintendent. We do not have a scheduled report from our internal auditor. We do not have a scheduled report from our treasurer's office. And we do have items 10.1 to 25.2 in our consent agenda. And then we do have an executive session. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Adair? Yes. Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ingalls?
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Vera?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, we will move to public comment. As a reminder, we are hosting office hours between 5:15 and 5:45 before every single board meeting. So if any of our community partners, families want to have an opportunity to have two-way exchanges with any one of our board members, we welcome you as an additional option to do so. At this time, our first public comment speaker is Mr. Aaron Hopkins. Topic, agriculture education. Board action, keep agriculture education and STEM education and greater community partnerships in agriculture for all Columbus City high schools. Mr. Hopkins, if you could please come to the podium. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening to President Vera, Superintendent Chapman, Vice President Tina Pierce. I want to speak, I'm Minister Aaron Hopkins. I can do community development, wear several different hats on the Columbus South Side, in civic and even in a faith leader role. But I'm here today to speak about economic development and education and how they play a vital role in the avenues of advancement for our inner city youth within these urban communities that are often marginalized, disenfranchised, and hindered because of systemic barriers of poverty from the lack of education about the access of wealth that comes from the access of land and being farmers on the land that you live. And an absence of the heritage education of African Americans as farmers, past the things of enslavement and living on their own land as farmers. A lifestyle not only that puts food on your table, but provides you tools to be better able to open the doors to higher education and resources, but also provides tools to transfer to the next generations to better prepare. Unfortunately, these principles of privilege aren't always taught in the youth in the Columbus City schools to understand the benefits of agriculture, agronomy, agroforestry, and horticulture. According to the think tank Center for Strategic and International Studies, stated in 2021, agriculture and food-related industries contributed 5% to the GDP and contributed 10.5% to U.S. employment. And according to the USDA, that dollar number was roughly $1.4 trillion. Forestry, fishing, and hunting thereafter referred to as the production of agriculture accounted for $206 billion of the U.S. economy. With there being a shortage of world food that is sustainably grown and practices that do not contribute to climate change and global warming, what we want to do is prepare our communities through STEM education and programs much like that is at Lyndon McKinley STEM Academy, where Mr. Eric Valentine has had a program along with Mr. Sauter, where they have been teaching along with FFA, Future Farmers of America, a curriculum that has been, in my eyes as a farmer, I'm very much a new beginning farmer, on 3 acres in Johnstown, Ohio, 2 city land bank properties here on the south side, and also a farm stand where we do address food insecurities. But we want to see STEM come to South High School and see more programs like that and have agricultural based, even as we have relationships where we are providing jobs for them getting ready. And so we understand the Columbus Promise and that it could also be beneficial in sending youth to Columbus State in agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we have Annalise Kern. If you could please make your way to the podium. Topic, health and wellness as it relates to farm and school education. Board action, fund the farm to school program that they are currently planning to defund. Reconsider their defunding of farm to school education pathways. Good evening, Ms. Kern.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Annalisa Kern, and I thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. The decision has been made to move FFA programming out of Lyndon McKinley STEM Academy. Not only will this take away countless opportunities for Lyndon students to grow as learners, professionals, and stewards of the food system, it will also indelibly have grave and long-lasting impacts on the immediate and long-term health of your students and, more broadly, the Lyndon community. With my master's in public health and 10 years of experience working in food insecure communities across Columbus, Ohio, I have focused on systems understanding of the problems that impede health and wellness in our communities. As a lifelong student of science, I ground all of my work in the context of both empirical and qualitative evidence. So tonight, I would like to paint a brief picture about the dire and almost guaranteed consequences of withdrawing the FFA from Lyndon McKinley. According to a 2023 report by the CDC, students that participate in farm-to-school education have increased knowledge of nutrition and agriculture and are more willing to try new foods, including the consumption of fruits and vegetables. Unfortunately, U.S. students receive less than 8 hours of required nutrition and agricultural education each school year, far below the 40 to 50 hours necessary to affect behavior change. Moreover, of all the institutions that influence student eating behaviors, schools were shown to have the greatest potential impact. It's also important to note that positive behavior change in students 6 months after the cessation of formal nutrition education was most evident among the cohorts participating in food education that incorporated hands-on experiences with food, including the cultivation and preparation of food. The FFA provides these hands-on opportunities at Linden McKinley, and in doing so, fills a gap in CCS curriculum and a gaping hole in the U.S. food and health systems. I'll expand. Based on diet recommendations established by the USDA, only 2% of children have a healthy diet. In a survey among high school seniors, only 3 out of 10 report eating vegetables nearly every day. But of the vegetables that they reported to consume, a quarter were in the form of French fries and potato chips. According to the CDC, Ohio ranks as the 13th worst state for obesity and the #1 state for the highest percentage of overweight children in the nation. Let me be clear, unhealthy students don't do well in school. In fact, overweight children miss 4 times more school than a child of normal weight. Unfortunately, Linden is suffering at a disproportionately higher rate than the rest of Columbus. According to an OSU survey, 42% of adults in Linden have a high blood pressure compared to about 32% citywide. About 38 have high cholesterol compared to 32% citywide, and 17% have diabetes compared to only 11% citywide. There's a growing recognition that behaviors learned in adolescence are critical to the health behaviors and outcomes in adulthood. It's clear that the board understands the positive and health-affirming impacts of hands-on interdisciplinary FFA programming. Therefore, I ask you to do everything in your power to advocate to protect this valuable opportunity for Linden McKinley students, demonstrating your investment in multidimensional education for students, and likewise, the long-term health trajectory of Linden residents who are disproportionately suffering every single day from diet-related morbidities and premature death. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kern. Our next speaker is going to be remote, from my understanding, Mr. Hamed Mustahi. Topic, transportation concerns, board action, find reasonable transportation accommodations without lengthy wait times. Do we have Mr. Hamed on the line?
Members of the board, I appreciate your time, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you today. I wanted to share my concern and my family's frustration caused by the mishaps with transportation of my kids. Their return bus, it takes normally 2 hours every single day to drop them off in the afternoons, and several days every month it arrives late by from 30 minutes to 2 hours. One day my kids got dismissed from school at 3:30 and the bus dropped them off at home at 7:30. We are new to the U.S. I submitted their school enrollment applications in December last year, and they got enrolled at school starting January this year. And because we arrived in the middle of the year, according to the central enrollment, there was no capacity at the school of address. Therefore, they decided to get them enrolled at Salem Elementary. First of all, the distance between where we live, which is on Avery Road, Dublin, Ohio, and the school, which is Salem Elementary, is a huge distance. The school is too far away from where we live. And the other problem is that this bus normally takes 2 hours. The kids get dismissed from school at 3:30, and the bus arrives at 5:15, 5:20. On top of that, several days a month, it arrives late. Sometimes by 30 minutes, sometimes by 1 hour, and one day even by 2 hours. That on top of the normal 2 hours, it was 4 hours. So I'm worried about the impact of this on my kids' well-being and academic performance. They are students of elementary school. When they arrive home, they are so exhausted that they cannot, do their homeworks. They cannot do extracurricular activities. Sometimes they are as exhausted as they even don't want to eat, and they fall asleep shortly after they arrive home.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Someone from our district administration will follow up with you. Our next speaker is Londale Towns. Topic, Future Farmers of America. Board action, retain the agriculture education program with the CCS high schools. Good evening, Mr. Towns.
Good evening to our great and bright leaders and visionaries of Columbus City Schools. My name is Londale Towns, and I'm standing with...
I'm Brian Camara, graduate of class of 2023 from Lyndon McKinley and former president of the FFA Lyndon McKinley chapter.
Over the last few months, I had a chance to sit with this young man, and there's a couple of things that stood out to me the most. So not to take y'all to school, you already have surpassed my education, but there's a couple of things that stood out to me the most, and I hear them a lot in nuance. The first thing that stood out to me from this young man was the food insecurities, the opportunities that FFA has afforded not just the residents in Lyndon, but the youth in Lyndon through agricultural help. From my understanding, we've took inventory. They are maintaining on a daily 7 plots that are now community gardens. Without FFA, I could assume these gardens will have a lot of debris and trash and low manned. Through FFA, they also have another term they utilize, is food swamp. In nuance, I knew what it meant, but after talking to this young man, he broke down exactly what food swamp meant to them while learning in FFA. He told me that food swamp is not just not having food, Mr. Towns. He told me it is where urban areas have few grocery stores, but they have a lot of fast food and corner stores. And then he said, you wonder why some of my friends can't stay awake in class? What are our options? And then this young man brought to me food deserts, right? Kind of similar to food insecurities and kind of similar to food swamps, but it doesn't also happen to poverty-stricken areas. So food desert was also urban areas, but this hit me a little hard because it said it's where it's difficult to not just buy, but to afford good quality food. This is America we're talking about. Good quality food, hard to come by. Well, through FFA, the Lyndon area, we're coming in to meet those challenges. The last thing he brought to me was farm to plate. We've looked at it on the internet and we're familiarized with it through emails, but I don't think any of us can sit here and say that that is our primary choice every day is farm to plates. Well, in Lyndon, there is no choice. There is no Kroger. There is no Bear. There is no Walmart. So these community gardens that has been manned by FFA, students at Lyndon McKinley, is a part of the chain that we cannot afford to break. We ask that you can hear, we ask that you can listen, but most importantly, feel, right, what it means to be suffering food security, check mark 1, food swamp, check mark 2, and food desert, check mark 3. Lastly, this young man asked me, Mr. Towns, do not disappoint us because we believe in y'all. So thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Towns. Next, we have Fred Garrett. Topic, Miseducation of Black Children. Board action, investigate and find solutions. Good evening, Mr. Garrett.
to say hello to the superintendent, the board, the administration, and the community. Yeah, my topic is the miseducation of black children. There are major disparities between what white students learn in this district and what black students learn in this district. There are some national statistics. The one I have in front of me is titled K through 12 Disparities, K through 12 Disparity Facts and Statistics. Back around 1999, there was a curriculum audit of this school district, and it spoke of the racial mistreatment of black children in this school district, among other problems. More recently, there was another audit, but I don't think I heard the results of that more recent audit. I also have a concern about books. I recently had 4 granddaughters attend this school district. 2 dropped out, 1 finished at a charter school. I don't think any of them, 2 finished at charter schools. Anyway, when they were in the school districts, the Columbus School District, I asked each one of them to bring home their books. And each one told me that their teacher told them they were not allowed to bring home books. I see this all the time on the east side schools, the predominantly black areas of town. When I go to Clintonville, where they're mostly white students, they all have books. Their book packs are loaded with books. So it seems like someone in this district, and this is going on a long time, does not want to see black children educated. This country has a high demand for engineers, technicians, nurses, teachers, and other positions that require education. If we don't educate our children to qualify for those kinds of positions, we're going to be producing children who drop out of high school, who feel like they need to get involved in things like drug dealing and other crimes, and end up filling up our prisons and homeless shelters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Next, we have President Nana Watson. Topic 18.1, Award General Contract for Mifflin High School. Board action, I want the board to answer, why do you continue to utilize the cooperative purchase agreement? Good evening, President Watson.
Good evening, President Vera and Superintendent Chapman. Again, Nana Watson, President of your NAACP. You know, we continue to question Columbus City Schools' involvement with the cooperative purchasing program. This evening, you will vote on contracts with Prodigy Building Services located in West Chester, Ohio, $3 million. Brewery Garrett headquartered in Cleveland, $798,000 plus. Friends Service, $1.6 million, located in Findlay, Ohio. Now here's a good one. A&E Glass, they're located in Columbus, $220,000 plus. How do you track LED participation for taxpayers' dollars leaving Columbus? For example, there is a 54% LED goal for Friends Services. What is the scope of the work? An LED event was held February the 19th at East High School by Gordian. In a public records request, the NAACP inquired if this company is a member of the State of Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program. This was the response. This would need verified with the State of Ohio, as this is not tracked or kept by the district. That's sad. Why do you continue to bypass your fiduciary obligations to the taxpayer by not conducting your own bidding processes and procedures? Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Watson. All right, colleagues, at this time, we will move on to board matters. And before we jump into some of the resolutions we have this evening, I do want to, while their team is pulling up a presentation in the back, I want to take a moment just to thank my board colleagues, present and former members, for your continued commitment to putting our students first. I also want to thank our present and former committee members. Thank you for serving and providing feedback on how we can continue to elevate not only the work, but the experience of serving on committees. Some time ago, alongside of our district team members, community members, labor partners, and experts, we as a board began to evaluate how our board committees can help support the governance and strategic direction of Columbus City Schools. The collective decision to reshape the Board of Education committees was important to the board as we recognize and embrace the changing needs and opportunities in our district. Today, I would like to share with you the following proposed board committees. Next slide, please. So let's move one more slide, please. Thank you. So the first being, and these are the proposed board committees. So first, the Policy and Governance Committee, pending board consideration, will be chaired by board member Sarah Ingalls. This committee plays a crucial role in developing and monitoring compliance with our district's goals, guardrails, strategic plan, and the portrait of a graduate. This committee ensures that our policies align with our ambitions for educational excellence. Next, the Academic and Facility Alignment Committee, pending board consideration, will be under the leadership of Board Vice President Dr. Tina Pierce. Focuses on maintaining a shared vision of academic excellence. This committee includes aligning our curriculum, staff development, safety protocols, facility planning, and technology integration. This committee oversees construction projects and ensures alignment with our strategic goals and the portrait of a graduate. Next, our Equitable and Transparent Resource Management Committee, pending board consideration, will be chaired by board member Jennifer Adair, which will advise on finance, appropriations, and risk mitigation to promote equitable resource allocation. This committee is dedicated to enhancing the effectiveness of our board's district's internal controls and aligns closely with our guardrails and strategic plan. Lastly, the Community Engagement and Advocacy Committee, pending board consideration, will be led by board member Brandon Simmons and will focus on developing sustainable strategies that strengthen our relationships with internal and external stakeholders. This committee is vital to supporting our district's goals, guardrails, and strategic plan through active community engagement and advocacy. Next slide, please. Maybe. Okay. So we wanted to be able to share with our community just a timeline of how the board will continue to work and move the district forward with our committee work. Obviously, today we will be voting and discussing. Tomorrow there will be communication rollout to our community as to how you can get involved in applying to be a part of one of these committees. On March the 19th, the Board of Education will host office hours, as we do before every single board meeting. And at that time, if a potential committee member has questions that they want to ask about committee work, that is an additional opportunity. It's not the only opportunity. Certainly, we encourage you to send an email to a board chair or send an email to any one of us, but that is just an additional opportunity. On March the 27th, we will close the application process. And then we will also be connecting with potential applicants by April 8th. April 15th will be the deadline for anyone who has accepted the invitation to be a part of the committee. And then this body, the board chairs, and I will come before the community and announce who those committee members will be. We will confirm meeting dates in addition to administrative support. With that being said, on May 1st is our goal for when these committees will begin their work, in addition to folding in our previous structures. So that will be braiding in the alignment of ANA, FAC, NSDP, and GPAC. As a board, these next steps are critical for maintaining relevance, responsiveness, and effectiveness in the face of ever-changing educational landscapes and our students' needs. This realignment will allow for continuous improvement and will help to support district goals and guardrails while remaining student outcomes focused. That being said, anything, Board Vice President Pierce has the resolution.
Thank you. So I have the resolution to establish the Policy and Governance Committee, Academic and Facility Alignment Committee, Equitable and Transparent Resource Management Committee, and Community Engagement and Advocacy Committee as standing committees of the Columbus Board of Education. Whereas the Columbus Board of Education, also referred to as the board, held several special board meetings over the past 2 years to deepen knowledge of the organization and discuss proposed committee structures. And whereas the board seeks to align its committee structure to support their adopted board goals and guardrails, and whereas the charge of the Policy and Governance Committee shall be to assist the board in fulfilling its responsibility for the development and monitoring of compliance in support of our district goals, guardrails, strategic plan, and portrait of a graduate. And whereas the charge of the Academic and Facility Alignment Committee shall be to assist the board in ensuring the district maintains a shared vision of academic excellence that aligns curriculum, staff development, safety and security measures, facility planning and management, and technology integration in support of our district goals, guardrails, strategic plan, and portrait of a graduate. The Academic and Facility Alignment Committee shall oversee all the district's construction projects within the facility's master plan and make recommendations to the board prior to a vote to appropriate funds. And whereas the charge of the Equitable and Transparent Resource Management Committee shall be to assist the board through guidance and counsel on matters of finance, appropriations, opportunities, risk mitigation, and accountability to promote the equitable allocation of resources with fidelity and promote the adequacy and effectiveness of the district's internal control environments. And whereas the charge of the Community Engagement and Advocacy Committee shall be to assist the board with the development, implementation, and monitoring of best practices and sustainable strategies that strengthen the board's relationship with internal and external stakeholders in support of our district goals, guardrails, strategic plan, and portrait of a graduate. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Columbus Board of Education, on this 5th day of March 2024, in adopting this resolution, hereby establish the Policy and Governance Committee, Academic and Facilities Alignment Committee, Equitable and Transparent Resource Management Committee, and Community Engagement and Advocacy Committee as standing committees of the Columbus Board of Education. And be it further resolved that we, the Columbus Board of Education, pursuant to Board Bylaw 0155, will ensure that committee charters include the name, purpose, general powers and duties, specific powers and duties prior to initial meetings of committees after May 1, 2024. And be it further resolved that we, the Board of Education, pursuant to Board Bylaw 0155, will abolish current Columbus Board of Education committee structures on May 1, 2024. And be it further resolved that the board president, pursuant to Board Bylaw 0155, shall appoint members to the committees. The committee shall be comprised of 3 elected members of the Columbus Board of Education. The committee shall also be comprised of at least 2 non-elected members who have subject expertise.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And at this time, item 4.2, I do want to formally and properly name our committee chairs and members. The Academic and Facility Alignment Committee will be led by Vice President Dr. Tina Pierce as chair. Jennifer Adair will serve as a member. Michael Cole will serve as a member. Our Community Engagement and Advocacy Committee will be led by Chair Brandon Simmons, and Board Member Michael Cole will serve as a member. Board Member Ramona Reyes will serve as a member. Equitable and Transparent Resource Management Committee will be led by Jennifer Adair as chair, Member Michael Cole, Member Brandon Simmons. Policy and Governance Committee will be led by Chair Sarah Ingalls and Member Jennifer Adair, Member Dr. Tina Pierce. At this time, do we need a motion for that? No, right? Okay. So I wanted to give a quick second if any of my board colleagues, chairs would like to give any remarks. Simmons, Board Member Simmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I will just say that I am excited to begin this journey with my colleagues here, my seatmates. You know, I had some really good conversations in our office hours with some community members about what things they'd like to see from the district or how we can engage more parts of our community. And I will also say I'm looking forward to serving on that committee with some of our students. It's definitely my intention as the chair to have, you know, maybe one or two students serve on that committee alongside me. So I'm really excited about that. And I also say the work has already begun. You know, I've had some really good conversations with partner organizations over the past 2 months, and I'm excited about the opportunities that lie ahead for our district.
Thank you, Board Member Simmons. Board Member Ingalls.
I would echo what Board Member Simmons just said. I'm very excited about the Policy and Governance Committee and the opportunity to really dig into what are our board policies. Are we actually following them? Are they important? And do we need to make any changes? Because if you've looked online, we have quite a few of them, and many of them could probably be updated and or changed or gotten rid of. So I am looking forward very much to digging into this and working with our community and key stakeholders to make sure that our policies are reflective of not only the desires of our community, our students, our families that attend this district, but also supportive of the administration and the staff that work day in and day out, really making sure that our children's education is the best that it can be.
Thank you, Board Member Ingalls. Board Member Adair.
Thank you. I am excited to chair the Equitable and Transparent Resource Management Committee. I want to thank Board Member Cole, who has served as chair of the Finance Committee, who I know will be a great partner in this work and bringing along Board Member Simmons into this as well. You know, it's so critical that we continue to monitor and ensure that we have the most transparent resourcing for our community. We know in coming out of issue 11 that our community wants information and deserves it. And we know as board members, we have begun to start asking those tough questions and understanding, you know, what is going on internally to ensure that we have strong and accountable systems. We also need to look at finances a little bit broader, and we've talked about that as a board. Our public education system in Ohio is unconstitutional. And we know that the things that our students need require us to think outside the box and figure out different ways to fund so that we can ensure that our students have the same opportunities as those in our suburban districts and in private education. So I'm excited to lead that work and to incorporate Board Member Cole and Simmons in that as partners.
Vice President Pierce.
Thank you. I want to thank our entire board, the members that are seated here today, as well as the members who started this journey with us but are not seated here today, Board Member Carol Beckerly, as well as Board Member Eric Brown. When we started the policy and governance journey, we knew that we were embracing a new form, a different type of board governance. We have worked very collaboratively in partnership with an administration that has changed, that has met the challenge of that new governance structure. And this is the additional element for our board meeting the challenge and changing our structure to align better with our goals and guardrails. So a tremendous thank you to also our administrators, those that are here currently and those, of course, that are not here currently with us, for being patient with us as we went through this process. There were a lot of meetings and long nights and repetitive conversations, so we thank you and your families. A thank you to our community. As Board Member Adair indicated, Issue 11, our community, made a commitment to our schools. We as a board are making the commitment to you that we will continue to govern, but we will strengthen the way we govern. We will reaffirm and strengthen the way that we engage with the community. And so I am excited to see all the applications that will come in from community members who want to join us in this great work. Do know that we are going to definitely look over and read all of those applications. We are looking forward to engaging people, not just in the formal committee structure, but as I think about the leadership that you are giving to our board and to our district president, Vera, I know that our office hours will continue to be a place where community members can also come and give feedback. So in sum and in short, thank you to our board, thank you to our administration, thank you to our community for allowing us graciously to think through deeply how we needed to change our governance structure to get us to this point. We ask for grace and patience, but also that you work with us as we move forward with this new structure. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. So more information will be shared via our website, social media, emails, in terms of how you can apply and just additional information as the committee over the committee structures as a whole. So thank you, colleagues. And at this time, we're going to move over into item 4.3, a resolution on board legislation alignment to board policy. Board Member Cole.
Thank you, Madam President. Today's resolution on board legislation alignment to board policy. To align board legislation with board policy, whereas the Columbus Board of Education, the board, has adopted policy 6321, which dictates how the board shall appropriate funds, and whereas policy 6321 states that for the general fund, appropriations shall be made at the operational unit, OPU level, for non-personal expenses. And whereas policy 6321 further states that all other appropriations shall be at the fund level. And whereas the board wishes to align its approval of expenses with the appropriations dictated by policy 6321, now therefore be it resolved, that the Board of Education shall approve and all non-personnel expenses as dictated by policy 6321, and be it further resolved that the board authorizes non-personnel, non-general fund expenses previously approved at the fund SCC level as approved at the fund level, and be it further resolved that the board directs the superintendent and treasurer to take action necessary to effectuate this resolution. Madam President,
Is there a motion? There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, we will move into Resolution 4.4, a resolution to recognize March 4th through the 8th as International Social Emotional Learning Week. And I know we have, let's see here. This evening, we would like to welcome Demir Morel, Nevaeh White, Tan Roncia Horton, and Yvonne Robertson to the podium. Demir and Nevaeh are 9th grade students from Afrocentric Early College High School. Tan, you're gonna have to say, I know I'm messing up your names, I'm so sorry. Tan Roncia is an 8th grader student from Lyndon McKinley. Tarancier at Lyndon McKinley, and Yvonne is an 8th grade student from Mifflin High School. Board Member Adair has the motion.
Yes, I am very honored to present this motion to recognize March 4th through 8th as International Social Emotional Learning Week. Whereas the Columbus Board of Education is honored to recognize the critical role that social and emotional learning, SEL, plays in supporting academic success and the well-being of students, educators, and families. And the SEL approach shows students how to establish and maintain positive relationships, make responsible decisions, and navigate challenges, ultimately building confidence through the setting and achieving of goals. Columbus City Schools, consistent with the principles outlined within the SEL approach, is committed to creating a learning environment where each student is highly educated, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as citizens in a global community. The whole child focus is one of the strategic priorities of the Columbus City Schools. The district has designated and implemented a holistic curriculum, enabling students to pursue their education in a more relevant and rewarding way. This approach helps students acquire critical thinking, solve complex problems, and develop compassion, skills essential for elevating communities. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Columbus Board of Education that the board hereby declares March 4th through 8th, 2024 as International Social Emotional Learning Week. Be it further resolved that this board does hereby applaud the teachers, students, and administrators that have embraced the SEL approach. Moreover, the board thanks them, thank you, for your contribution to improving academic performance and instilling lifetime outcomes that respect themselves and the dignity of others. That is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice President Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful.
Good evening. My name is Yvonne Roberson, and I'm a social emotional learning practitioner in Region 5, housed at Mifflin Middle School. President Vera, Board of Education members, and Dr. Chapman, thank you for recognizing Social Emotional Learning Day and International SEL Day. The Office of Whole Child Support and Social Emotional Learning Practitioners appreciate your support and advocacy of this important work that we do daily throughout our buildings. Please meet our students who have prepared brief comments to address the board. Our first student we have is Tarasia Horton, grade 8, Linda McKinley.
Good evening. My name is Tarasia Horton. I am a student at Linda McKinley. I want to talk to you about how Linda McKinley is changing me. When I first started Linden, I wasn't feeling it. But when you really get to know Linden, it's good. We have our good times and bad times. We really are a good school. So a couple of weeks ago, Ms. Jackson and Ms. Harding in our class, we were talking in what we call community circles. We talk about respect and disrespect and how to treat one another. Our talks helped me because I had a really bad attitude and I didn't care. I am doing better, and my grandma, my dad agrees that my attitude has gotten better. I am learning to have more patience with others and able to express myself with a teacher I trust is helping me build character. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Up next, we have Demir Morel, and he's grade 9 from Afrocentric Early College.
Hi, board members. I would like to thank the vice president and the president for allowing us to be here. Today, I will be speaking about SEL, which is social emotional sorry, learning. Social emotional learning helps us, the students, become leaders. It helps us believe that we can achieve and overcome our fears. It builds resilience in us, and it builds confidence, so we can become those leaders that we are supposed to be. As a student who stutters, learning strategies and strategies for mindfulness and focus allowed me to be here today. As a student who struggles with stuttering, learning strategies for mindfulness and focus allowed me to be here today. So I'm here to display the fact that I have overcome my fears of speaking in front of large crowds and important crowds. Adding SEL to our learning helps us connect to what we learn in school. It's fun and engaging. I see myself in my learning, and I've made better like decisions about school, home, etc. And I see my life becoming better through SEL. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you. Next, we have Nevaeh White, grade 9, Afrocentric Early College.
Okay. Okay. Ooh, okay. It's a little loud. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am Nevaeh White, and I'm a scholar at Columbus Afrocentric Early College. I am also an athlete. So I guess that makes me a scholar athlete. I play over 5 sports, which is usually fall in the same season, and it's very overwhelming. Crazy, right? Like, when you think of that, it's just like, oh my God, like, for real? Yeah. I'm coming to talk to you about social emotional learning, also known as SEL. When you hear this, what do you see? When you say it, how does that make you feel? I want y'all to close your eyes, and I'm gonna make y'all have a good visual of it. So can y'all close your eyes, please? Close your eyes. Okay. So slowly breathe in, breathe out. Now walk into your house, go to your room and sit on your bed. Boom, bang, crash. Get off of me. Something that goes on for hours. Now go to sleep. It's time to get up for school the next morning. Like everything's okay. Now walk down a long hall filled with people that you look away from. Put on a fake smile to say good morning while thinking about everything at once. Then you black out. Breathe in, breathe out. Now open your eyes. That's how we young adults feel on the inside, on a daily. Social and emotional learning. Social. You begin to see purpose and value in what and why of your learning experience. Emotional. You begin to think about your impact and others. Learning. You learn more from every experience with the intent to do better. When I think about SEL, I see opportunity beyond school walls and desks. I see a future. SEL gives me the confidence and graph mindset to change myself and learn from others during this experience. I'm looking forward to traveling to Ghana this year.
Thank you, Nevaeh. Next, we have Ziona Hicks, and she is in grade 8 from Mifflin Middle School.
Hello, my name is Ziona Hicks, and I'm an 8th grader at Mifflin Middle School. I want to tell you about the yoga club at Mifflin Middle. I wanted to participate in yoga club because sometimes there is stress and drama that occurs in school, and many students react with a hot-headed attitude, which does not help the situation. The yoga club at Mifflin Middle School has taught me different skills, strategies, and tools to learn how to deal with my stress and emotions that occurs at any given school day. Since I have started taking yoga class at school, I feel more calm, relaxed, and able to deal with challenging situations and control my emotions. I no longer react, but I breathe first, analyze the situation, and then respond in a calm manner. I love taking yoga class because it's fun and allows me to relieve stress from social media, homework, and provides me with a positive connection with my peers. I believe all Columbus City schools should offer yoga class. Social emotional learning helps me focus a lot better in all my classes. Thank you for your time.
That does complete all of our speakers that we have for this evening. Thank you so much for your time. Loves t-shirts. Please accept this on behalf of the soap department, the whole child department. Thank you so much.
For our students, I'm sure I echo a lot of my colleagues' sentiments, just how proud we are of you. You touched each and every one of us tonight, so thank you for being here. Thank you for putting yourself out there. Thank you for sharing your story and your heart. And Mr. Demir, you should be so proud of yourself. At this time, we'll move to item 4.5, a resolution to recognize March 30 through 9th, 2024, in honor of National Social Work Week. This evening, we will welcome Pablo Pelaez to the podium. Pablo is a Columbus City School graduate, and we have Board Member Simmons with the motion. Any social worker, all our social worker folks is welcome to also come to the podium. We honor you. Thank you. Board Member Simmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm so proud to read out this resolution today to recognize March 3rd through the 9th, 2024 as National School Social Worker Week. Whereas the Columbus Board of Education is proud to recognize March 3rd through the 9th, 2024 as National School Social Work Week. School social workers are vital to the educational teams. They play an essential role in creating a climate and culture of education that embraces partnerships between home, school, and the community, positively impacting academic success. Whereas school social workers provide services to students facing serious challenges. They stand in the gap as a bridge between poverty, discrimination, abuse, addiction, bullying, and other behaviors impacting student outcomes. Whereas school social workers find solutions to social, emotional, physical, mental, and environmental needs. In the end, helping students to achieve academically, they prepare students for success by serving with care and professionalism, finally developing global citizens with lifetime learning skills. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Columbus Board of Education that March 3rd through the 9th, 2024 be declared as National School Social Work Week. The Columbus Board of Education values the contributions of the district's school social workers as they are essential to the district's objective of creating a world-class public education system that prepares students to reach their potential. Be it further resolved that the Columbus Board of Education urges residents to join in the district in expressing its gratitude to the contributions that school social workers make and their ultimate impact on the lives of families, students, in our community.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Reyes. Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
President Vera.
Yes.
Ms. Adair.
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Ingles.
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Did you want to share any remarks?
Good evening, Dr. Chapman, members of the board. My name is Jillian Baker. I'm the school social worker at Northland High School, and it's my honor to introduce Pablo Pelayas, one of our, not only a 2022 graduate, but one of our valedictorians, who is here to share a few words with you.
Sorry, I didn't print out my paper, so I just look it up out of my phone. So I have already graduated from Columbus City Schools. I also graduated from Columbus Promise last semester. I was I don't know how to call it. I was part of the dean's list. I'm not very familiar with that, but I was there. So I can say I was lucky enough to find a social worker at my school. In this case, Ms. Baker. She was one of the first people that ever asked me how I was, like how genuinely I felt. One of the first people to care about my problems, not only giving me solutions that, of course, didn't go anywhere, but actually following through with my problems and actually helping me connect with others that genuinely solved my problems. I was halfway through my sophomore year when I gave up on the idea of going to college. The summer between my junior year and my senior year, I went to a summer camp in Otterbein. And in my senior year, I went to Otterbein as a CCP student. All thanks to her, because she helped me see opportunities that I didn't see around me because of my legal status at the moment. I was told multiple times that I couldn't be in the U.S. legally because of my circumstances. A few years after I met her, that wasn't the case anymore. I finally met someone that would take my case and would actually help me follow through with the judge. The day I went to court, she was there. I don't know why, but she was there. She made a case for me. She made me look really nice, and she helped me. I actually gained, I guess, the opportunity to gain legal status after that court case, and just almost a year ago, I was actually able to gain a legal status in the U.S. So. I can say I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her, and I know she wouldn't help me if she wasn't passionate about helping people, and I know you guys are also passionate about helping people, so thank you.
I know you only see two of us here, but we are one. We are your CCS school social workers. We are dual licensed. We have an ODE license, and we also maintain our license through the Ohio Counselor, Social Worker, and Marriage and Family Therapist Board. We are happy to be here. We are happy to be school social workers. We work with the students and the teachers and the parents and our administrators to make sure that every obstacle is removed from our students so that they can succeed. And I'm always a sucker for a good movie quote, so thank you very much, and one is always glad to be of service.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our social workers, all of our team members. We appreciate you so much. And thank you to our alumni for being here this evening as well. At this time, colleagues, we will move over into item 5.1. Good evening, Madam Superintendent.
Good evening, President.
It's a lot to follow after all that, right?
Yes, my heart is full.
Try not to cry up here.
Exactly, ditto.
Right, we should just call it a day after that.
Drop the mic.
Meeting, right?
Man. Good evening, President Vera. Certainly, we will In our report tonight, when we talk about our monitoring report, and we talk about our progress towards matriculation, we're looking at matriculation for grades 9, 10, and 11. I will be highlighting some of the strategies that we have elevated in that space, which certainly speak to the work of our amazing social workers and our amazing SELPs. And so it was great to hear from our students and staff this evening. So you'll have concrete examples as well as firsthand testimonies when we get to that portion of the report. Certainly, I am eager to be here this evening with you all to share a few highlights and important updates in our district. First, I'll present an update on the Superintendent's Community Facilities Task Force. This presentation follows our previous two meetings, reflecting our continuous efforts to adhere to the directives outlined in Columbus City Schools Policy 7105. This policy mandates the monitoring of district enrollment, building usage, capacity, conditions, and procedural guidelines for school closures, emphasizing the formation of a task force comprising internal and external participants approved by the board. Today, I'll recap our progress and outline the contributions of the appointed facility task force members. The first, again, we want to just remind everyone, this is the second update on our work to implement the items identified in our statement of facts for the recent, we're talking about the Community Facility Task Force, as well as providing an update on the investments that we have made post-issue 11 and the investments that we made based on the support that our community has provided for us. First, we'll start with an update on the Community Facilities Task Force. As a reminder, the Board of Education has a policy in which the superintendent creates and provides a list of internal and external participants for approval by the Board of Education to seat a facility task force. This occurred at the February 6th Board of Education meeting. At the same meeting, we outlined a timeline in which the facility task force will meet from February to June, with a goal of meeting twice per month in different sites across the district. Our goal is to have a final recommendation to address our facilities to the Board of Education by the middle of June of this school year. We anticipate the recommendations will begin to take effect no sooner than the school year 25-26. Since February 6th, we've held 2 meetings of the Community Facilities Task Force. The first meeting focused on task force members being introduced to each other and being introduced to the work. At the same time, we created a web page accessible to the public to house all information, including the final recommendations from the 2018 Facility Task Force as reference. This web page is updated following each meeting of the Community Facilities Task Force. At the second meeting at Mifflin High School, we handed off the Community Facilities Task Force to our co-chairs, Al Edmondson and Jim Negrone, to ensure this work is community-led. The co-chairs worked with the group to establish meeting norms. We then heard a presentation from Mike Wilkos, who is the Senior Vice President of Community Impact at United Way, and that presentation focused on growth and development in the city of Columbus. This presentation was certainly informative and impactful and is available on our Community Facilities Task Force webpage. And I would just like to note that Michael Wilkos, this was his second time presenting this presentation. He's been invited to the district a few times to share these important updates, and we certainly will continue to invite him back to share this important data and patterns with various groups within our district as well as our community. Additionally, we had a CCS team member who supported the 2018 Facility Task Force present an overview of the school screening process that we utilized in 2018 to help frame the work ahead. We also added talking points for task force members who have questions from the public. Our team has recently created a survey, one of many surveys that will be used to gather feedback from our community around priorities for the factors through which schools will be screened based on board policy. The information received in the survey will be presented to the Community Facilities Task Force at their next meeting. We certainly encourage, welcome, and invite everyone to take a few minutes to fill out the survey and include their voice in the work of the Community Facilities Task Force. The survey is available in English, Arabic, French, Nepali, Somali, and Spanish. In each language, we also created versions tailored to adults, high school students, and K-8 students. We currently have already received over 1,000 survey responses, and we certainly want to elevate our student and staff and community voice. The survey will continue to be open through Sunday, March 10th. At the next meeting on March 12th at the Hilltop Library, we will be reviewing the survey results, and the task force will have their first working meeting in which they will prioritize and establish criteria for consideration in making decisions about school consolidation or closure. Once the priorities are established, our teams will work to provide relevant and specific data to the Community Facilities Task Force at their following meeting. Pursuant to board policy, since conditions may not permit giving equal weight to all factors, decisions shall be based on overall balance and objectivity. I will provide another update to the Board of Education on the Community-Led Facilities Task Force in 1 month at the April 9th board meeting. We are targeting the May 7th board meeting to present initial recommendations on school decisions. During the month of May, we are planning a series of town halls, surveys, and gallery walks to gather community input on these initial recommendations. Pursuant to our original timeline, we are targeting the month of June for a final recommendation to the Board of Education to determine our path forward that includes feedback from the community. I want to express a huge amount of gratitude to our task force members who are giving their time, expertise, and voice to this crucial process. Thank you. And at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the Community Facilities Task Force at this time, and then we'll transition into the other 2 presentations that we have for tonight.
Board Member Ingalls?
Yeah, I just want to uplift a question that I continually hear in the community is, how is this going to be any different? That we've done these task force in the past and, you know, we've started a plan and we don't follow all the way through. And I guess I'll start by answering my own question, is that this board is very committed to this work and knows that we have to get something done. What that looks like, we need the feedback from our community, but certainly we are committed to this task and we are partners in this. So I want to be very clear that we are partners in this work. Superintendent, if you have anything else you'd like to add.
Yes, I would say thank you, Board Member Ingalls, for raising that question. That is a question that has come up in the task force meeting. And so and it also came up in the last presentation we talked about the facility task force at the board table. So I think it's important that we name for the community and continue to name that at this point in time, there's no final list of schools to close or consolidate. This is a community-led process, and the board and the administration are committed to following the process and being responsive to the needs of the community feedback that we receive and the recommendations from the Community-Led Facilities Task Force. So this is a different time. You know, the board was ready to move forward with this work, even a part of all the conversations that we had in the fall in support of issue 11 when we produced our statement of facts. We talked about whether or not the levy was successful or not. This was one of many important decisions that we needed to lean into and give our time and attention to. So we know that this is, you know, important work. We know that these are difficult decisions, And we know that there's a heaviness that comes with it, but we are certainly not going to shy away from those important decisions. And we're going to make sure that we, again, have a fair and transparent process that leads us to some recommendations that we'll be bringing back to the board. So I hope that's helpful, but I think it's important for us to name that tension every time that we talk about this and remind our community that we want their input. And these are important decisions for a number of reasons that we've discussed in several settings. But this is the right conversation to be having at this time.
Board Member Simmons?
Thank you. I just wanted to share that the next, for folks who might be watching at home or here today, that the next task force meeting is Tuesday, March 12th at 1 p.m., located at the Hilltop Library branch.
All right, I think we're good to go.
Thank you. Next, I'll present an overview of our levy investments after the recent levy. This report outlines the strategic allocation of funds generated from the recent passage of the levy, highlighting how these resources are being utilized to advance our district's goals. This presentation will provide insights into the progress made, the impact of these investments on our school community, and our continued commitment to transparency and accountability at every step forward. Again, I'd first like to begin with a spirit of gratitude. I'd like to take this opportunity to again thank our community for supporting our students and school communities by supporting with the passage of Issue 11. First, before I get into the presentation, I would like to invite our treasurer, Ms. Vanover, to share with the board and the community some of the logistics and timing for the district to receive levy monies and the appropriations of these resources.
Thank you. So I just wanted to kind of, again, share what the process is. Following the organizational meeting on the 9th of January, we began receiving advances that following week on all of the taxes. That's both old and new levies that are available to us. And this is relevant for all of the funds that are funded by tax dollars. So you're talking your operating funds, your permanent improvement funds. We also have bond issue revenue coming in to cover debt service, as well as we have a dedicated permanent improvement levy that's for OFCC funded projects. That's required by statute. We anticipate receiving the final settlement by the end of this month. That is per the Franklin County Auditor. Tonight, later in the consent agenda, the board is approving an appropriations resolution amendment to the current appropriations, which will allow us to then create the account codes and budget those funds that have begun coming in for the permanent improvement levy. One thing I just wanted to note, we brought this forward to include the funds that are coming in from the PI levy. The reason that we are not increasing appropriations as it relates to the general fund is because the general fund investments that Dr. Chapman will talk about going forward, as well as what we've been talking about all through the whole levy process, is for it's for the coming school year. So the needs of the general fund for this year are already included in those appropriations. So when we bring forward permanent appropriations for the coming school year, those new resources will be available as well as all of the other information that we are providing. And again, what this does is by the board approving the appropriations resolution, that's step one. Next step is that then our budget department has the ability to create those budget account codes. We can start encumbering those funds so that projects for the coming school year on the capital side of things can begin. At this point in time, we have received funds, but we have not expended anything from the new money, just to be clear. Once these codes are built, we'll put in the POs, the work will begin. The likelihood of those funds for the new levy, from that standpoint, being spent this year is pretty slim because, again, these are long processes. We're in the beginning stages of how to expend those funds, and we're getting those planning pieces in place. We're trying to get that stuff moving forward. So that's essentially what the appropriation resolution tonight is about, and that kind of helps hopefully provide some context as to how that works into the existing process that we have as it relates to our tax funding. So other thing I guess I want to point out, if you review legislation that has been brought forth primarily through the facilities department since December, so following the approval of the issue 11. The legislation provided multiple funding sources. Again, as we deal with multiple options, be it ESSER funds, be it a variety of buckets, for lack of a better word, within this PI fund that we have been approved at the November levy is included in a lot of those legislations. So there's a lot of legislation that has already been brought forth to the board and been approved that will potentially utilize these funds, again, as we work through all of those various funding sources. So that's where Alex and his team have been very forward-thinking and very purposeful with trying to include all of that so that we have the ability to move forward without having to provide delays, bringing stuff back to the board. That's also a reason we pushed for, or we brought that resolution forward to align with the appropriation resolution so that our legislation and our appropriations align. So again, we just wanted to provide some context as it relates to how that works. If there are any specific questions about the process or those funds, I would entertain those at the end when we get, after Dr. Chapman goes through the other information.
Thank you, Treasurer Vanover. As we discussed in the statement of facts, in September and continuously since, we are adding positions to the general fund that will take effect in school year 24-25. The vast majority of these positions are current ESSER-funded positions that we will be able to maintain. We've seen the important work these positions have provided to our students and families, including social-emotional supports, direct family supports, operational improvements, and staff coverage for continuity of education. These new positions added will include the expansion of pre-K. It is critical that we continue to focus on expanding the availability of pre-K across the district and across the city to ensure our students are prepared to succeed when they enter kindergarten. And again, that is a change that will take place for next school year 24-25. Our teams are currently working in the identified non-personnel areas, which will see an increase, again, tied to the information we provided in our statement of facts about the levy. Like our ESSER-funded positions, many of these programs were started or enhanced with ESSER money, and we are very fortunate to be able to continue and adapt these student and family supports, including technology for students, security measures, restorative practice, training, and more. As we stand up our new board goal around math, we are creating a focus on math, professional development, similar to the focus on literacy we've previously had. And so again, right now we're doing the planning work. These funds will become available to spend for next school year as early as July. And so right now it's planning for what will take place, the changes and the investments that we'll be able to implement for next school year. We are also able to support high-need teacher licensure incentives, including recruitment and retention of teachers in high-need licensure areas, and teacher pipeline and apprenticeship work, which we see as a main driver in diversifying our teaching staff by preparing current non-teaching staff in our Columbus community to move into the teaching profession. The redesign of our high school pathways will ensure we are engaging students in the education that will keep them excited about coming to school every day while preparing them for the future workforce. On the non-personnel side, our teams are also working on moving away from our previous model, which was the run-to-fail model, in which our assets are used until they break down or require repair or replacement, to a predictive and preventive maintenance model. That is a huge shift and a transformation for our district's operations team. Columbus City Schools has never before had sustained funding to take care of our fixed assets, and we believe this work will be transformational for permanent improvement management. And as Treasurer Vanover has explained, we are receiving those monies. We have received authorization by our board to begin planning for the use and allocation of those funds, but none of these resources have been expended as of yet. Again, we're still in the planning mode and preparing for how we allocate these resources and investments. Certainly, we want to acknowledge and name that we realize the importance of community engagement in this process, and we will work to be as transparent and inclusive as possible to share information and provide updates regularly. With this in mind, a Levy Promise webpage will be created that will provide details on updates related to these investments, such as personnel as well as permanent improvements. Also, signage will be added to schools to identify projects, programs that are associated with these new recent investments. Finally, regular notifications again will be provided to board members, staff, and community stakeholders on the levy implementation process and the progress being made. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to provide these updates, and I look forward to answering any questions that you may have.
Dr. Pierce.
I don't necessarily have a question. This is just a comment. The remarks and in some ways, the presentations that we heard from our staff and students today speak to how we are currently using the funds that we have. I'm excited to see how we will use these additional funds to strengthen these programs. As I look at one of our speakers that's still here fully engaged in the meeting, I can't wait to see what we'll be able to offer him and his peers as they continue to matriculate through our district. So thank you for this overview, and we look forward to those future programs and impact.
Board Member Adair.
I just want to clarify what Dr. Pierce said. It's not really, there weren't additional funds, it's replacement of what was on ESSER. The only new funds only new thing that we are doing is the expansion of pre-K, and obviously the new, very important, whole permanent improvement budget line item is super important. But just to be clear, because this investment allowed us to keep a lot of the investment from ESSER. So the only new thing that we're getting is our pre-K expansion, which is amazing.
I'll add one more investment that is new. When we think about the investment to add student and family supports, the math professional development, that is new in alignment with our math goal. The high-need teacher licensure incentives, that will be a new strategy and new resources, new investments. We recognize this is a need. And the high school pathways for redesign. As you all know, whenever I get a chance to talk about career academies, I certainly share our passion for lifting up this work and the importance of it. Again, we have allocated some resources to prioritize this work, but again, all of those strategies are for next school year. So right now, we're just planning and getting ready for that. Once those resources, those financial resources are available to us for next school year, we will actually be able to report out on the strategies, the implementation, and how we operationalize those strategies.
Anybody else? Vice President Pierce.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chapman, for that clarification, and thank you to Board Member Adair for the clarification. But I also like to say thank you for uplifting that with the funds, you can implement new and creative strategies to impact the direct instruction for our students on multiple academic and social emotional levels. We appreciate it.
Board Member Ingalls.
I just want to make a quick comment and again thank our community for giving us this opportunity and how important it is that we invest in our kids. And this is, we do not take that lightly. So I want to call that out specifically.
Yes, I echo that. Thank you, Board Member Ingalls. All right, so let's move on to our monitoring report. Board members, as a reminder, each of us has a very bright lime green document in our binders. We'll go ahead and start with the report, and then we'll move into questions.
Good evening again. This evening, we are providing an update on our interim goals, 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3, closing opportunity gaps. Tonight, we'll share an update on the progress that our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders are making towards graduation. I've invited Dr. Brown to join us as we will be co-facilitating this presentation tonight. First, we want to thank our teachers and high school staff who have invested time and dedication to professional development and shifting their instructional practices to prioritize matriculation. We know that waiting until students are seniors to monitor whether they are on track to graduate is extremely too late. 2 years ago, we implemented the district-wide strategy of having teams in each high school meet regularly to monitor the progress towards graduation of every student and implement different and differentiated supports for students if they are off track. These teams include teachers, administrators, support staff, who are all focused on early identification and intervention when students are struggling. We have invested in matriculation coaches at every school to support this work. Later, we will touch briefly on our core instructional framework, our focus on climate and culture, and finally, how we are aligning our efforts to provide differentiated interventions for students with specific needs, especially our English language learners. Successful graduation of our students involves us all. It is an all hands on deck for our schools and our community. Beginning with our parents, who are our students' first teachers, and moving through elementary and middle schools, we prepare our students for high school. From our bus drivers who greet our students at the start of every day, to our partner programs who provide after-school support. We all have a role to play in supporting our students with matriculation. Again, this evening, we'll share our current data for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders as they move towards graduation. Dr. Brown will now provide an overview of the goals and our students' progress towards graduation.
Good evening. So in the latter part of the fall, the board adopted this goal for graduation. It was an adaptation of the prior board goal for graduation, with the expectation that the graduation rates would increase from 78.2 to 83.2 in August of 28. For interim goals, we have anchored it to on-track rates, that is, whether or not students have accrued the appropriate amount of credits at certain points along the way in their high school career. This image sort of illustrates that. The idea is that, you know, if we're looking at the best predictor for whether or not students will graduate or not, it's whether or not they've obtained the credits that they should have at certain points in time. So midway through the 9th grade year, have students acquired the credits that they should have at that time? That'd be 2.5 credits with at least a half credit in English and a half credit in math. And then moving on to 10th grade, again, keeping up with the number of credits they need to have in total, as well as specifically in reading and math. And then moving on to 11th grade. If students stay on track with that, and that model for tracking them really sets them up for success in their senior year, because then they don't have to play catch up in the senior year and do credit recovery, but instead can focus on activities that enrich their experience in high school as they move through. With that being said, we're going to start with 9th grade, looking at 9th grade. All these charts are set up the same way for the board members. I'm sure you've seen many of these before. The blue line on the left reflects our historical data, and the most current point on that is 72.2, which is the proportion of students in 9th grade who are on track to graduate at this point in time. The orange line to the right of that reflects the interim goals. And those interim goals, again, are our tracking to understand whether or not students are on track to meet the graduation goals when they matriculate into their senior year and are ready to graduate. You'll see with this data that our 9th grade students are continuing to show improvement. There's been steady improvement over time, and it's a 1.1 percentage point improvement from the prior year. This performance exceeds our pre-pandemic performance by 2 percentage points, and it exceeds our board interim goal as well. And again, it demonstrates ongoing improvement. When we take that data and we start to look at it by student group, again, we see overall, all that light blue you see here are student groups that are exceeding the goal at this point in time. So overall, our ninth grade performance exceeds the interim goal. It's actually about 105% of our interim goal at this point in time. And again, most students groups both showed improvement and are exceeding the interim goal. When we move on to 10th grade, or the second year of high school to actually be more accurate for this cohort, again, we'll see a very similar pattern here. Again, the blue line to the left reflects historical performance. You'll see that this cohort right now, 58.4% of students are on track with the number of credits that they've earned. It is a year-over-year improvement from last year, but it is a little bit short of the interim goal that we had set for ourselves. Again, it's a 1.3 percentage point increase from the prior year. When we look at this data broken down by student group, again, overall our 10th grade performance is very close to our interim goal. It meets 97.4% of the interim goal. Our largest student group, if you look at African American students, they actually meet this goal for this time at this point in time. Our students who receive special education services also made improvement or nearing the goal. You will notice here that students who are emergent bilingual students, those who are learning English as a second language, had a decline. And that also impacted our Hispanic population as well, because a large number of our second language learners are of Hispanic descent. That carries on into our 11th grade as well, and we'll see it again when we get there. Moving on to 11th grade, our 11th grade remained relatively flat. There was a 1/10 of a point decrease from the prior year. Again, blue line to the left shows our performance over time. Current performance, 53.1. It's a 1/10 of a point lower than the year before. The orange line shows our trajectory of our interim goals. Again, fell short of that. When we look at that broken down by student group, again, overall, relatively close. It's 94.8% of the goal. We got in the neighborhood of it. Again, we see that there was a decline for our emergent bilingual population, and that had an impact on our Hispanic population as well. Again, improvements, that being said, improvements were observed by more than half of the student groups. So at this point in time, I'm going to transition back to Dr. Chapman to talk about our ongoing plans for change and deepening the work to get back on track.
Dr. Brown. We reviewed the data you just saw, and we are refining our theory of action to increase the number of students who are on track for graduation. We believe that when we focus on improving Tier 1 instruction, more students will meet the requirements to be on track, and subsequently more students will graduate. I'm going to talk now about each part of our theory of action, starting with Tier 1 instruction. We know that also that when we improve attendance, credit attainment will improve. And when we improve school climate, then students will attend school more regularly and will have greater academic success. This year, we have moved from a focus on credit recovery to credit attainment. Our core instructional framework and supporting professional development has been aligned system-wide to ensure that our core curriculum is implemented, taught, and monitored. We know that all students must have access to high-quality Tier 1 instruction in every class every day. Professional development occurring this year is designed to support our principals, assistant principals, and teachers to learn to use the core instructional framework with fidelity. As I shared at the beginning of this presentation, the matriculation team meetings in each school are focused on the academic and non-academic needs of students. Teams regularly review how students are performing in class and focus on attainment of credit. The result of that teamwork are the gains we see in 2 of our cohorts. 9th graders made a 1.1 percentage point improvement, and 10th graders made 1.3 percentage point improvement. Matriculation teams are finding that 2 groups of students are not making the same progress as 9th and 10th grade overall. For our juniors and English as a second language learners, absenteeism rates are higher. We are also seeing that for our growing English language learner students, most of them are entering our schools performing at the earliest levels of English proficiency. This may mean that students are coming to school unable to read or write in their first language. They may also have had long periods of school interruption before coming to Columbus. Our schools are working to learn new strategies to support accelerated language acquisition for these students. As we deepen the work of our matriculation teams, high schools are leveraging our core instructional framework to deepen planning for improved instruction and student learning, increasing the cadence of matriculation meetings for cohorts 2025 and 2026. Senior matriculation teams meet once a week. Matriculation teams who monitor freshmen, sophomores, and juniors meet at least once a month throughout the year. Matriculation teams identify and provide just-in-time interventions to support off-track cohorts 2025 and 2026. High schools are ensuring credit recovery efforts are implemented for off-track students, including targeted school year and summer learning opportunities for students who are off track. Through our staffing process, we have begun realigning staff for our growing population of second language learners by placing additional English as a second language staff in more neighborhood high schools to make services more accessible and closer to where students live. This, again, is a huge shift for us as an organization. We are also differentiating our efforts to improve attendance while we talk, which we will talk about on the next slide. We know that in order for our students to benefit from instruction, they must attend school regularly. This is certainly a rallying cry that we have been talking about regularly at the board table, across the district, in community meetings, in matriculation team meetings, in schools, and family engagement sessions. Chronic absenteeism remains very strongly related to students staying on track. As absence rates increase, which is shown in this chart, the percentage of students who are on track drops. When students become chronically absent, that means they're missing over 20% of school, the on-track rates plummet. Only approximately 1 in 3 students who are chronically absent are on track to graduate based on the credits that they have earned. The good news is that when students come to school for more than 80% of the time, they're able to accrue credits in a timely fashion. For each cohort, students who attended more than 80% of the time exceeded the interim goals at all grade levels. We certainly want to thank our teachers for their efforts to engage students and create welcoming classroom environments. Not surprisingly, our first-year high school students have the lowest rates of chronic absenteeism, with approximately 2 out of 3 students attending school more than 80% of the time. This aligns with our overall on-track rates. Unfortunately, chronic absenteeism increases as students progress through their first 3 years of high school, with only a little more than half of third-year students attending 80% or more of the time. This has a substantial impact on the on-track rates for students as they progress through their second and third years of high school. Attendance and chronic absenteeism is a barrier which impacts graduation. Students are not attending school for a multitude of reasons and continues to be of concern since returning to school post-COVID. Our attendance improvement efforts this year include our partnership with Stay in the Game, which is our attendance awareness program. Our matriculation teams review student attendance data and implement interventions. And finally, our PBIS team focus on attendance as a priority. We are seeing progress in the reduction of chronic absenteeism in each of our cohorts, as you see on this slide. You can also see that chronic absenteeism grows as students progress to 11th grade and is higher for students who are learning English. Our high schools are digging into this data and creating additional strategies to address our 11th graders and ESL students. We have also prioritized 8 of our high schools who have the highest chronic absenteeism and created attendance specialists to support removing non-academic barriers to student attendance. This is how we're differentiating our supports based on the data to be responsive to the needs of our schools, our students, and our families. In addition to those specialists, we have district-wide supports for all high schools to deepen our work around attendance. This work includes student-specific plans to locate and re-engage students who are not attending regularly, establishing a research partnership with Ohio State University to better understand the multiple root causes of chronic absenteeism. They are reaching out to families to gather additional information about the root causes of absenteeism, which will inform our work moving forward. So we certainly have quantitative data. We're tracking attendance. We know who's attending school regularly. We know who's chronically absent. But we're also gathering qualitative data. What are the specific reasons why our students are not attending school regularly? It's a myriad of reasons, but that's more of an individualized, we need to talk to the parent, we need to talk to the student. And so we've called a friend and we've reached out to establish a partnership to help us with that work, which is a heavy lift. We are also leveraging our English as a second language team to develop specific communications and strategies for our emergent bilingual students and their families. We are also reestablishing our partnership with Attendance Works to provide ongoing support and professional development for our staff, and we're working with our restorative practice team to improve climate and culture in our buildings. The third part of our theory of action to increase on-track status is that when we improve school climate, then students will attend school more regularly and will have greater academic success. To do this, we have made a number of investments and implemented strategies for support. As you recall, we are currently providing restorative practices training for each school in the district. To date, more than 700 employees across the district have participated in the 2-day restorative practice training. We'll be providing an opportunity for all staff to receive this training this upcoming summer. We have also invested in social emotional learning practitioner SELPs for each of the 15 highest need schools. And thank you to our SELPs who joined us here this evening at the board meeting and shared a little bit about their practice. And thank you to the students who really spoke to the impactfulness of these SEL strategies and how it has impacted them directly. We are also supporting our staff by expanding wellness programs such as Educators Thriving, which is an online after-school program for staff to learn their own regulation strategies for adult well-being. So there are supports for students, there are supports for staff, there are supports professional development, and again, continued opportunities for learning in this area. As you will recall, we will be able to carry forward important positions to support student well-being, such as school counselors and social workers, thanks to the successful passage of Issue 11. And now for board support. We are asking for your support to continuing helping us communicate the importance of student attendance. Again, our students who attend school more than 80% of the time are exceeding our targets. Unfortunately, while we have improved attendance, chronic absenteeism rates are continuing to negatively impact our students and their learning. We are also asking for your support in legislative advocacy on behalf of our English as a second language students. This is a growing population for our community, and research suggests that it takes 5 to 7 years to acquire academic English. And so that is a significant barrier for students and families who are coming to Columbus, relocating here, and starting high school. They just are not able to really develop the academic content language that's needed to demonstrate mastery. And so we would certainly want to advocate for more time, knowing this research. As we close, we would also like to name that the population of Columbus is growing rapidly. Our affordable housing stock is not. We can unfortunately anticipate a growing school-age homeless population. And we ask that as a board and community, we continue to advocate with our city and county partners to support affordable housing solutions for our families and our students. And at this time, we will certainly entertain any questions that you have related to our board monitoring report.
Thank you, Superintendent. Colleagues, as a reminder, I know many of us met with Dr. Chapman and Dr. Brown in advance and submitted questions. At this time, we are only asking strategic questions. We are not giving advice. And we're not discussing anything that is not a part of this report. And so with that being said, does anyone have any questions? Board Member Cole?
Thank you. On the strength side, so first of all, thank you for this information, this presentation. I greatly appreciate what I'm seeing in terms of growth in specific grade bands, and where we still have our challenges in the one, particularly in the 11th grade. But with that in mind, and I have a myriad of questions, so I'm just going to kind of bounce around. I'm not going to ask all of them at one time. I want to make the floor available for anybody else. The move towards the geographic approach for academic supports in a neighborhood school, love it. What exactly inspired that shift, that kind of strategic change?
So Board Member Cole, if you remember, I believe it was in the fall, we had a series of board retreats where we talked about the services and programs that we offer in the district. And in one of those presentations, we talked about special ed services, ESL services, and we named that this is a true area of opportunity and growth for us as a district. In the past, we have historically allocated provided programs and services in certain schools instead of providing services to families in their neighborhood. Give you an example. I have a neighbor who had 5 children. Yes, has 5 children. And his children were enrolled in 5 different schools across the city because they were all accessing different services. And so we had lots of conversations in the driveway about why his children cannot attend school in their neighborhood. One was attending school, we're in the northwest corner, one student was attending school in the northwest because they didn't need special services. Another was attending school on the west side, another was attending school in Region 2, and it was very frustrating for him. It was a very frustrating conversation. But we talked about the need for us to be responsive to many families across the district that have to relocate their homeschool because of this challenge. And so this is a move and another piece of this is that a lot of times families will decline services. They will acknowledge that their child needs special services or needs ESL services, but they'll say, if I can't get it in my neighborhood, I'm not sending my child across town, and that's just not an option for me. I'm going to decline the services. So in that case, the child loses out, and they're not provided with the supports that they need. And so this is beginning to shift our service delivery model. This is just the beginning. Will be a longer process. It will take time, but we are beginning to make the steps and make the changes to shift how we think about serving students and how we provide services to families within their neighborhood. They should have that option.
Okay, I have 2 additional. I thank you so much, and thank you for that response. The other question is around our strengths, and I want to preface my question by saying that I care about education, public education specifically, and I care about every student, race, color, et cetera, every student. But I'm noticing something in the data, particularly in the 9th and 10th grade bands. is it fair to say that we're seeing somewhat of a gap closure, particularly between African-American students and white students? Am I seeing that correctly? Is it fair to say that at all, Dr. Brown?
Yeah, in terms of the on-track rates, absolutely. Ninth grade, there's a closure of the gap. The ninth grade students in particular are meeting the interim target, and there is improvement in 10th grade as well.
Awesome. I hope that gentleman who gave his comments earlier is still here or watching. Okay, thank you. And then my other question is around the data in the slide about attendance, and it's just a point of clarification for me. I'm not sure I'm totally grasping it. So we have the cohort on one side, right? Then we have the percent of students on track by attendance category. Are these percentages tied to the total number of students per grade band or broken out to look at a specific group of students? I'm not sure about how to answer the question. Can you just clarify what this data is tied to, these percentages are
And
tied to?
Dr. Brown, can you go back to slide number 17 so we know what we're referencing before you
I did on my sheet.
jump in? Response.
Not so helpful for everybody that's not seeing the world through my eyes. There we go. Okay.
This the slide?
Yep,
Board
yes,
Member
ma'am.
Cole? Okay.
So if we look at the green column there, those are students that are attending 95% of the time or more. The numbers there are by cohorts. So if we look at the 11th grade, 74.4% of the students who attend school 95% of the time or more on track.
95th percentile.
Yeah, 95% attendance or greater.
Okay.
They have satisfactory attendance. They're
They-
attending school 95% of the time.
Time or more.
Okay.
On the other hand, if you go to the red column to the far right, same cohort, only about 30% of the kids who are coming to school less than 80% of the time are on track.
Got you. Thank you.
It's such a dramatic drop in performance. And then realize that almost half our students in 11th grade are in that red column.
Yep. Got you. Thank you. Thank you.
Vice President Pierce.
Thank you so much for this monitoring report. Is it fair to say, and I don't know Dr. Brown or Dr. Chapman, who this question is actually for, so whoever would like to respond, please do. Is it fair to say that our theory of action is beginning to focus on making sure that there's fidelity with our curriculum, but also providing a more individualized instruction for students to meet them where their needs are?
Absolutely. Dr. Pierce, I would say that our theory of action is evolving, and we're now differentiating our supports. So when we started this work, we were thinking about setting creating shared expectations, creating shared practices across all of our schools. And now that we have established those shared practices, now it's continuing to evolve. And when we talk about our partnership with Ohio State University, we're getting down to each individual student. What are the barriers that are preventing you from coming to school? That's the type of data that we need that feeds back into the work that our attendance teams and our PBIS teams are doing to remove those non-academic barriers. Perhaps it's connecting them with the social worker. Perhaps it's medical issues and connecting them with our school nurse or the services that we provide at one of our school clinics. Whatever those individual needs, and perhaps it's all of the above. But that's the type of information that we need. But first, we had to start with just creating an awareness and looking at the data in regular ways. So because if we weren't analyzing the data, we wouldn't even know that we had a challenge with chronic absenteeism, right? Because when we think about this work, Columbus City Schools has been on the forefront of really leading the conversations around chronic absenteeism and raising the attention level, not only of our staff, but our parents and our community. now the state is really capturing these similar strategies and sharing them with school districts across the country so that they can implement practices to be responsive to this data. Because all districts across the country and in our state are struggling with student attendance post-pandemic. But there wasn't a playbook for how we go about addressing that. There wasn't a handbook for what do you do, how do you look at the data. And so we're very grateful to be in this place that now we've set the foundation and we've named this as a critical strategy, and now we're fine-tuning, tweaking, and differentiating the supports for our schools, for our students, and for our families.
Thank you for that response. So as we think about the gentleman that spoke this evening and any other community member who might have had a grandchild, a child, a current student within our district, if there was one way or strategy or soundbite that you could give to summarize how you plan to replicate, optimize these individualized instructions that we now have for students, these strategies, that really connects, again, the message that Columbus City Schools is working with and for and in partnership with you for the success of your students. What would that response be?
So first, I would start with recognizing the alignment between the board and administration of prioritizing student outcomes. Board and administration, we are committed to prioritizing and keeping the main thing, which is student outcomes. This monitoring report in and of itself is our commitment to making sure that we're having conversations at the board table about student outcomes. Our board goals is our commitment to our community that we will stay focused on the most important work, which is ensuring that students are learning and improving student outcomes. Our guardrails support that work. Our guardrails really prioritize the strategies that the adults will focus on. And so at a high level, that's our commitment between the board and the administration, and we'll continue to uphold those commitments, monitor that work at the board table, and continue to ensure alignment across the entire district. For specific students and families, I would certainly encourage them to reach out directly to their school administrator and staff to talk about ways to individualize supports for students so that they can be successful.
And then I know this isn't a question, but I'm going to try to put it in a question.
What is it?
I'm gonna try. Let me see if I can do this. With the board support that you've indicated, I think on slide 18, is there a way that you can connect one or all three of those to a particular committee that has currently been named this evening?
I would say one, I welcome you to help me with this since this is new, but I would say strategy number one, Dr. Brown, if you could go to slide 18. I would say strategy number one that speaks to the creating the awareness around attendance, that probably would fit under the academic committee. Does that sound good? Strategy number two would probably fit under the advocacy committee. Yes? And strategy number three would probably fit under advocacy as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Board Member Ingalls.
Board support.
I don't.
You don't have a question anymore? Okay, never mind. All right, so over to Board Member Simmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to share with my colleagues and Dr. Chapman that I have already started to lean into board support number 2 and number 3 and reached out to some of our external partners. And so the Community Engagement Advocacy Committee will definitely be looking to muster our efforts in those areas. And I'm excited to partner with my colleagues in the administration on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Simmons. And lastly, Board Member Cole.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is around, in the board support piece, on the number 2. And the question is what are your thoughts around the time factor for pathways? Is it extending the school day? Is it looking at increasing more hours for the school year? Like, what are we exactly, what are your thoughts around that? How are we looking at advocating for that moving forward?
So the basis of this advocacy really aligns well with the research that we know about our English language learners and how much time it takes for them to learn a second language. And so the research suggests that that's anywhere between 5 to 7 years. Well, as you all know, that our students don't have 5 years in high school. And so we need a longer runway for them to have the time needed to master a second language and then demonstrate their proficiency in that language. I would also say that, we get the funding for students for 4 years. And so once our students, the longer we keep them, we're not incentivized as a district or an organization to keep our students beyond the 4 years in supporting them.
Unless they have an IEP, but
Yeah. So there's lots of challenges, but the headline here is we need more time, right? Our students need more time. We know this research tells us this, and so how do we reconcile that research with our current practice, and so that we can support our students?
I thank you for that. I look forward to working with you all to think a little more deeply, creatively, entrepreneurially about that. Yeah, I won't give ideas.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Board
ma'am.
Member Cole. All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chapman.
Thank you.
President, may I
Sorry, I
please-
didn't see you.
It's okay. No, I don't have a question.
Oh,
I
okay.
would like to actually just make a motion that we accept this monitoring report along with the recommendations from the superintendent.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, team. All right, so we are going to move down to our consent agenda, which consists of items 10.1 to 25.2. Are there any items a member would like to have removed and voted on individually from the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Board Member President Vera, I just want to say thank you to the staff who've worked with us day in and day out to work on not only how we form our consent agendas and enact them in the board meetings, but also just the content that appears both publicly and what we are able to understand as far as the legislation that we're voting on. I know it's been, Brandon and I especially have been throwing a lot at folks, and we really appreciate everybody's willingness to work with us.
Thank you, Board Member Ingers, and we appreciate the both of you. So with that being said, please call the roll.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Before we move into our executive session, I did want to highlight, we did give out some adult diplomas today, so we want to give celebration to, I think we had about 6 adult diplomas today, in addition to a resolution we had here. So it seems, let's see, resolution to authorize granting diplomas for a veteran of World War II, the Korean conflict and the Vietnam conflict. And let's see here, whereas section 33.13.616 of the Ohio Revised Code allows the district to grant a high school diploma to any veteran of World War II, the Korean conflict, or Vietnam conflict who is a resident of this state or who has previously enrolled in any high school in the state, provided that they meet certain criteria. So I just wanted to highlight and celebrate our adult learners and our veterans who did receive their high school diploma this evening. Madam Treasurer, did you have anything you wanted to share with us this evening before we?
Yeah, I was going to provide some clarification. There was a local news story that came out that's created some confusion that I was going to, again, provide some clarification. The article was regarding sports betting and school funding. First and foremost, the school funding figures were included in our forecast and were involved in all of our levy planning, so they were not new figures to us. They have been and will continue to obviously be included in our forecast. And the one thing I guess I wanted to also point out, the amounts that we receive is based on the funding formula, so it's not a function of the revenues coming into the state. So while the revenues coming from the sports gambling is included in the resources available to our state legislature, there's no direct connection between revenues coming from state or from sports gambling to the amounts provided by schools. That is all done through the funding formula. The other thing I guess I wanted to point out, numbers referenced in the article as it relates to Columbus City Schools represent the total state support that's provided. There are a number of deductions that are also taken off of that. So the net impact to the school is around 102 million versus the 197 referenced in the article. So again, just to provide some of that context so that everybody understands, and it's providing confusion among a lot of districts, statewide as well as in Central Ohio, to the extent that OASBO, the Ohio Association of School Business Officials, which supports treasurers and business managers and schools in general, asked Howard Fleeter, who is he does work for the Ohio Education Policy Institute. They asked him to create a document explaining some of the confusing language, just to help clarify that for districts across the state as well as anybody else that has an interest. So again, I just wanted to share that clarification if there were any specific questions that anybody had. But again, just to provide that clarification that there's some confusion that was created and I wanted to make sure that everybody understood, so.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I scared, my apologies. I think my brain is already like, we're done. And also Interim Auditor O'Connor, how are you this evening?
Good evening, I'm well, thank you.
Good, I know you don't have a report, but are there any remarks you'd like to give?
None tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody I missed? Member Adair.
Sorry, can I just make sure that I'm understanding what the treasurer said? So Treasurer Vanover, basically what you're telling us is that the figure that was published was the overall figure, and it's actually less that we received, so it's 102. And then you're also letting us know and reminding us that this amount we knew was coming, and it is part of, you called it a forecast, but that's the budget that the school puts together. Right. And we used that when we decided to go ask the voters, or needed to go to the voters and put forth issue 11. So it was part of our calculation already. So this isn't, again, bonus money, it's not new money, it's not a substitution of money. In fact, it was contemplated when we decided that we needed to go to our voters to ask for issue 11.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I will kind of elaborate on that even a little bit further. The 5-year forecast is the mechanism that we bring forward to the board for review to help with that planning mechanism. But I can assure you that within my office, we have a staff member that reviews every single foundation payment that comes in for any changes, any fluctuations, any adjustments that come through, so that we're aware of them as soon as we possibly can. We get 2 payments per month, so every single payment that comes through, there are variances, there are changes, they update a number here, they update a number there. We are evaluating that every single time we get a payment on foundation. So obviously the forecast captures, one point in time. We're evaluating it as it comes every single time we get a payment.
Treasurer, last question. Can you just remind us, 102 million in terms of our budget, what is that kind of equal that maybe our community could better understand?
As it relates to our total appropriation, which includes all funds, not just general funds, it's less than 10%. From a standpoint as it relates to, say, a payroll, it doesn't even provide 2 months' worth of payroll for our district. So again, it's a wonderful resource. We appreciate the funding, but it is not a long-term solution from that standpoint. So it is, that's essentially the context that we can provide in terms of just understanding, because it is very hard for anyone to understand and comprehend that large of a figure. So I think there are times that there's perhaps some sticker shock when they see that kind of a number. So that's why we try to provide some context so that people understand its impact.
Board Member Ingalls.
Will this information be provided on the website that Superintendent Dr. Chapman mentioned earlier that we're developing to explain how we are using the levy funds?
We can include it in our current website. It's not necessarily directly connected to the levy, but we can absolutely share this information on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, I agree. All right, anything else? This time, we're going to move to item 27.1, a motion to move into executive session. Vice President Pierce.
Thank you so much. I motion that we recess into executive session per section 121.22G1 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee. And per section 121.22G3 Ohio Revised Code, to confer with an attorney for the public body considering disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
President Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Adair? Yes. Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Well, have a good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. We will enter executive session, but when we return, we will not be televised. Thank you.